morning, y'all. Welcome to another fabulous episode of How Many Tabs Are Open on Mr. Johnson's Computer. We got 2, 4, 6, 8. 8 tabs today. So what we're going to do is we are going to look at our first assignment for the day, which is decimal and fraction conversions. So go ahead and click on your activity, and let's take a look. So one of the things that you can remember from decimals and fractions is that if we're saying decimals correctly, not using the word point, a lot of your decimals and fractions will kind of be able to be translated into the other just by saying it out loud. So just by saying your decimals and fractions out loud, you can convert them from one to the other if they are in tenths, hundredths, or thousandths. All right. So I'll show you what I mean here in a second. We'll wait for it to load up. We'll wait a long time for it to load up. So if this is taking forever to load up on yours, I'm sorry. So let's go ahead and while it's loading up, I can repeat what I mean by talking about decimals and fractions sounding very similar or sounding the same. So remember, we do not say the word point when we're reading a decimal, okay? If we say the word point, it's not going to give us the answer, all right? So let's see what I'm talking about real quick. So if we say this number, 23 hundredths, right? We say it the correct way, 23 hundredths. It is the same thing as saying the fraction 23 100ths. This is 23 hundredths, this is 23 hundredths, right? Just like this is 3 tenths, this is 3 tenths. You can say 3 tenths, 3 tenths, all right? 500 thousandths, 500 thousandths, all right? So remember, just saying it out loud will convert it into the fraction or vice versa. 23 hundredths, 23 hundredths, 3 tenths, 3 tenths, 500 thousandths, 500 thousandths, all right? So just say it out loud and it'll change. For instance, on this one, 1 and 2 tenths. 1 and 2 tenths is the same thing as 1 and 2 tenths, right? 1 and 2 tenths is the same thing as 1 and 2 tenths. If you're not watching the screen, it sounds like I'm talking gibberish, but right, 1 and 2 tenths the decimal is the same thing as 1 and 2 tenths the fraction. So that's what we're going to use with this. Is basically what we're going to do is we are going to create equivalent fractions and decimals. All right. So instead of using 4 tenths as the fraction, we could use 4 tenths as the decimal. Just say it out loud. 4 tenths, right? 4 tenths is the same thing as the decimal 4 tenths. All right, 1 and 2 tenths plus 4 tenths, and that's what we're going to do. So let's go ahead and make 1 and 2 tenths. And this is kind of like our activity from the other day. So we're going to add 1 and 2 tenths, and then we're going to add 4 more tenths. So if I count this all together, I can just squish my tenths all together. Now I have 1 whole and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tenths. So what I'm looking at over here is 1 and 6 tenths. All right, if you wanted to do the math as fractions, 1 and 2 tenths plus 4 tenths. What we do is we just take the whole number out and then we'd squish the fractions together. So 2 tenths plus 4 tenths equals 6 tenths. And if you felt like simplifying that, you could. So it could be 1 and 6 tenths, or it could be 1 and 2 fifths. Either or works. But as you can see, when we write it as a decimal answer, the only one that's going to work is 1 and 6 tenths, because 2 fifths will be, like, we can't change it to a decimal as a fifth, because we can only change the decimals when they are tenths, hundredths, or thousandths. All right, so just by saying it out loud, 1 6/10 is the same thing right here as it is right here. All right, okay, let's take a look at the next page. Okay, so 2 15/100 plus 23/100. All right, so once again, remember that this is the same thing as 23/100. All right, 23/100, 23/100. So now let's just add it like this. We can practice adding these two things together as decimals. Remember, line up your decimal points, line up your place values, and then when you get to the end, drop it like it's hot. Drop that decimal point like it's hot. So our answer should be 2 38/100. Let's check it out. What we're going to do is we're going to take 2 wholes and then 15/100, so 1/10, and then 5/100. There we go. There's 2 1/10, 15/100, and then we're going to add 23 more hundredths. So let's take 2/10 and then 3/100. And then after we do that, let's put everything together. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all my hundredths together, and I'm going to put all my tenths together. So I'm going to move these a little bit so they're easier to see. All right, all my tenths are together. And then let me put all my hundredths together and see how much I have in total. And see if it matches. All right, we have 1 2 wholes, 1 2 3/10, 2 wholes 3/10, and we have 3 4 5 6 7 8 hundredths. So it did work out. We do in fact have 2 38/100. Oh, need to stretch that out a little bit. All right, and once again, if we wanted to do this as fractions, if we wanted to do this as fractions, we could just do 2 15/100 plus 23/100. We pull the 2 out, and then we do 15/100 plus 23/100, which would make 38/100. And we squish it back together. 2 38/100, right? 2 38/100, 2 38/100. Both of them have the same value and are the correct answer. All right. Next page, go ahead and I want you to try this one on your own. Remember 7/10. Will it let me write? Oops, there we go. 7/10 plus 37/100, right? Say it out loud. 37/100, 37/100. So let's go ahead and make it the decimal. So I want you to try this one on your own. Put 7 of the tenths over here, 3/10 plus 7/100 over here, squish them all together, and then put your final answer. All right. I'm going to go ahead to the subtraction one. It's on the next page. And we have 2 8/10 minus 1 3/10. 2 8/10, remember, can be seen as a decimal. 2 8/10 minus 1 3/10. So you can check your work using the decimal subtraction algorithm. Just line them up. 2 8/10 minus 1 3/10. All right. And then, of course, you can use your, well, show me how to do it using these. So let's try it. I'm going to take 2 8/10. And once I get 2 next to each other, I think I'm going to copy and paste. And so when we're doing subtraction, remember the red X's are to take away. So that shows that we're removing them from the situation. 2 4/10. There's 6/10. We're almost there. There's 8/10. I thought. There we go. All right. All right, 2 and 8/10. And what we need to do is we're going to subtract 1 and 3/10. So I'm going to take a red X. Hopefully they're on the top layer. I thought I had one. My computer's slowing down. Hopefully your computer doesn't slow down as much as mine has. Oh, hey, friend. Okay. Put that over there. There's minus 1 whole, and then we need to subtract 3/10. So there's minus 1/10, minus 2/10, minus 3/10. Oh no. Of course, it's not on top. So bring to front. There we go. And scoot it. Okay, so that leaves us with 1 2 3 4 5/10 left over. So our answer is 1 whole and 5/10, or 1 and 5/10. Check our work using the algorithm over here. And we have 8 minus 3 equals 5. 2 minus 1 equals 1. Drop that decimal point like it's hot. There's 1 and 5/10, right? And if we did this 2 and 8/10 minus 1 and 3/10, we could have done 2 minus 1 over here, and 8/10. Because it's larger than 3/10, we can actually do this. So 2 minus 1 is 1. 8/10 minus 3/10 is 5/10. So when we squish it back together, we have 1 and 5/10 as the fraction, or 1 and 5/10 as the decimal. Either or works. All right? And then finally, do the same thing for this last one. Go ahead and try it on your own. I'm freezing up. My computer is freaking out. All right. So, same thing. Change that to 8/10, or change that to 1 and 3/10 as the decimal. All right. So, change that to 1 and 3/10 as the decimal. Change that to 8/10 as the fraction. Either or. 1 and 3/10. So if we set this up, 1 and 3/10 minus 8/10. Maybe it'll do that. Oh, well, I think everything is going crazy. So, but there's your setup. So 1 and 3/10 minus 8/10 should equal 5/10. Show me with the pictures, and then put in your answer right there. It could also be 1. Oh, it's stopping again. Okay. Oh, there we go. It could be 1 and 3/10 minus 8/10. That's the other way you could look at it. All right, so give it a shot. Your 2 ways that you could do it. Once again, let's see if it'll save it all this time. That's an 8. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so there's your 2 ways of doing it, and then you would make 1 and then 3/10, and then you would take away 8/10. Remember, you might have to regroup one of these holes into 10/10 to take it away. All right. Okay. Well, I hope that you have success with this. I hope that it wasn't glitchy. I hope that you have a good day today. Talk to your teachers if you have any questions. Like and subscribe if you feel like it. And Mr. Glitchy Johnson, we'll see you later. I hope you have a good day. Bye.